Welcome to episode 74 of the Clive Barker podcast. This was, we call it The Multitude, because this was an episode where we got caught up on listener feedback and questions and topics, and we talked about Occupy Midian and the future of that. What's going to happen with Occupy Midian after the movie comes out? So there's all kinds of stuff in here. It was a fun episode. We didn't have a specific topic other than that, but sometimes these kind of episodes are fun, and I frankly needed more time to read The Great and Secret Show again. So here we go, episode 74, The Multitude. Hello.
Hey there.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. Did you read the revelatory interview that came out?
Oh yeah, yeah. I pasted some quotes into our notes from it.
Cool stuff. I mean,
it was shorter than usual.
Yeah, and the good thing about today's episode being like free topic is that with a revelatory interview, we get to have more to talk about.
Yeah, that was good timing.
Oh man, some really cool stuff here. Like the motion comics from Madefire are going to have music made by Chris Velasco.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that was totally unexpected. I mean, it sounds like we're just kind of diving in, so that's okay. So we were just talking about the new Revelations interview with Clive Barker. It just, as we're recording this, just came out today.
Yeah. With Phil and Sarah.
Yeah.
It's called Beautiful Monsters. It's the 31st revelatory interview by Phil and Sarah Stokes, 30 May, 6 June 2014.
Yeah.
So, yeah, pretty cool to be able to read another one of these, because I always love it. It's like having a little window open up into Clive Barker's life.
Yeah, and there were it was a little bit about his health, and that he said he wasn't painting with oil paints because he can't stand up. So that part was a little unnerving. I mean, it's a little scary, that after he said it's been 2.5 years since his toxic shock coma.
Yeah.
And but he's still having trouble standing up, and I'm guessing because the oil paintings have the bigger canvases is the reason.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And so what was another one? Oh, he talked quite a bit about Scarlet Gospels. And, he talked a little bit about Scarlet Gospels. We talked quite a bit about the book 3 of the art.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was talking about, the Iad Ouroboros would kind of come back for the finale. What else did he say? And it seems like it's kind of an apocalyptic book. This third one, because he had said something about it's a big show and all the characters have a part to play.
Yeah, and like Kisun and Tesla, and I see that part here. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said it would be like burning. And this is from memory, but he said it would be like everything's a show, and then what if the stage burns down? Which characters are made of paper and which ones are made of steel? That's what we'll find out in book 3. And the biggest news was that he had plotted out the key or the structure of the book. So it's a beginning. I mean, it's a pretty significant beginning.
Sure.
So now, I mean, he's always had notes about it, but now he knows the way the story's going to go.
Yeah, he does get a little heavy in the interview when he says something about how he's determined to. There's this certain number of books in his head which he's trying to write before he dies, and then he goes on about it's kind of like his art is driving him forward, and I mean, Clive knows what he wants to do with the Trilogy of the Art. He knows what he wants to do with the Galilee family versus the Geary family. He
definitely knows what he wants to do with Abarat.
Yeah. That one's pretty much done. I mean,
yeah, that was another thing he had said in this interview is that it sounds like Abarat, the book, is written and he's working on illustrations and paintings now for book 4. So there'll be one more book after that.
I'm guessing these must be like the black and white ink drawings he does. I mean, that we see him do in videos sometimes. Because his style is more like drawing these little...
like Rorschach kind of ink blot.
Yeah. So, that's probably what he's doing. And also like selecting which paintings go where. And, if he wants his painting to appear after the end of this chapter, and then he wants his painting to appear after Candy says this to Malingo and stuff like that, I guess.
Yeah. He said, that would be true of novels as well. Obviously, Scarlet Gospels is waiting for publication. I'm just finishing up the illustrations for Volume 4 of Abarat, and I'm dug in deep into the final textual files, so we're moving towards delivery of that. And actually, he said, this is a whisper, but I'm actually, I don't know when I'll be able to start this because of scheduling, but I've started to structure the 3rd book of the art. It should be a whisper because it's a while off, but the fact that I have a narrative in place, I know where I'm going on it, is useful.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we know that he has mentioned in other occasions hints of what the 3rd book of the art would have, like Buddy's house, and he has hinted at it in some interviews sometimes about the future of the last book of the art.
Yeah, but that's over like 20 years, so that stuff could have changed. I mean, there isn't even a draft yet. So it'll be interesting to see because like you and I were talking about this before, that we're different people, 20 years ago than what we are now.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I hadn't read as much stuff as I had back then, of course.
Yeah. Different experiences.
Complete different styles,
Well, when we have a different way of looking at the world, a little bit. I mean, I think that the Great and Secret Show in Everville, I mean, the overarching theme, and he had kind of mentioned this in this interview also, it's like a secret mythology of America. It's kind of the theme. Yeah, I mean, it would be cool also if he went back and did Cabal too. But that's probably not going to happen.
Well,
actually, you never know.
The way, right?
Yeah, we're probably closer to that now than we've ever been. So you never know for sure.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there's always a possibility, and sometimes Clive will develop some ideas in comic book form instead of book. So like Next Testament it doesn't come from a book that a previous book that Clive Barker wrote. It's an originally conceived idea for comic medium.
Yeah. Well, and he had said that writing the same thing for 7 days a week gets boring. So he's been doing other things, kind of secretly here and there, which is true. You think about how long he's been doing Abarat now. That was the first one, 2002?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 12 years of Abarat.
Right, and so far 3 books. I mean, is not it's not a bad output because it's been continuous. It's one of the things that Clive Barker actually devoted himself, and he has not moved on to other projects, or if he has, he put him on the side.
Yeah, but I think that Mr. Be Gone was kind of like a total opposite direction from Abarat, kind of a thing to get out as a break in between the first and second book.
Yeah, I mean, he claimed that it was this little voice, this nagging voice that got inside him, and he started listening to the voice, and he started writing the book, and the voice was Jacobach.
Yeah.
But honestly, for me, I didn't really, it was nice to have a new book, completely out of the blue, because I didn't see this one coming. I don't think anybody saw this one coming. Yeah. If it took as long as Clive said it did, to complete. I mean, I think he wrote for a few months, and then he delivered the book.
You can read it in one sitting too. It's almost a novella. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. I know I probably did.
I did.
I guess I got it in the mail because our friend Maureen, she went to the early book signing, and so we had met through Rogers Forum, the 50 Million, and she said, if you guys want to, you can just PayPal me the price of the book, and I'll get books for everyone and have them signed by Clive. And we were like, yeah. So I was one of the guys who did that, and it turns out I ended up receiving the book in Portugal like a day before it actually became released in the United States. Officially. Cool. Yeah. So wow. that was awesome. That was amazing. And there was the, for Jose Clive Barker, that was amazing. It was my first book that Clive Barker dedicated to me, and so far the only one.
I bought it from a bookstore where there was a signing. So that means I had to call them and buy it online, or buy it over the phone and have them hold it for me. So then I couldn't read it until I got there, for the signing. So and I've had that happen a lot of times with his books, and that's always been the tough part, is that everybody's talking about it, and I'm like, well, mine's at a bookstore in another state, and I can't read it.
Yeah, I know.
But then that night after the book signing was over, I just sat and read the whole thing.
What did you think about it?
I liked it. It was, and I had bought one for my mom and one for my brother, because it was another one of those things where you get two other books for every one Mr. Be Gone that you buy.
Oh, you're gaming the system.
Yeah, so I bought a bunch of those, and one for my friend Ben, and I ended up telling my mom not to read it because it was so violent. I thought it would really bother her.
Okay.
There's the part where he pushes that glass into the guy's mouth and it pokes his eye out, and
yeah, that's pretty gruesome, I would say.
It is. Yeah. And
the part where the guy's actually fished out of hell is also a little gruesome.
Yeah, for sure. And when Jacobok gets burned and they're trying to saw his tail off and just all kinds of crazy, violent stuff. He lives in a violent world.
You know what? This would look amazing adapted to a comic book medium, don't you think?
Oh wow, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, man. If they could do this in like that European style, like Mobius and stuff, so that would be amazing. I mean, frankly, it would be like heavy metal stuff,
Yeah, definitely. And it would be cool to see Jacobok at, God, what was that other demon's name? The big guy. Yeah, Quatoon was pretty cool. I mean, it seems like he kind of gets tired of Jacobok, and he's pretty cruel to him later on.
Yeah, it's this weird couple behavior, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of jealousy in there, and a lot of antipathy, and one of them tries to kill the other, but
Yeah. So anyway, if you haven't read, listeners, I mean, if you haven't read Mr. Be Gone, you should definitely read it. I mean, it's a quick read. It should be in everybody's collection if you're a Clive Barker collector. It's easy to find, relatively.
Definitely.
Let's see. Okay. So back to the interview.
Just make sure that you buy 2 copies of Mr. Be Gone so you can read one and burn the other.
Yeah. And then Phil and Sarah had an announcement too. Phil says, so Sarah and I went across to the people who are curating the Gothic exhibition on Monday, and it looks like the exhibition will include a couple of pages from the original handwritten Hellbound Heart manuscript, together with written material, sketches, and posters from Frankenstein in Love and Hellraiser. Oh. And they came over earlier this year to see the whole archive and have selected some things that they'd like to borrow for the exhibition. And what's really cool about that is it was in there with stuff from Edgar Allan Poe, and there I can't remember all the names that they had mentioned, but wasn't there something from Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, like an original manuscript of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was on loan from somewhere?
Maybe. That rings a bell. Yeah.
So pretty cool, and Clive was really humbled to hear that his stuff would be mixed in with all of that. He thought that was great, he felt honored. And then just to tell you what else we've been up to, we're just about to send the third volume of Memory, Prophecy, and Fantasy to the printers.
Oh, great! Because I got 2 copies of the first 2.
2 copies, really?
Yeah. Well, technically, they belong to my brother, but I bought them and I still have them.
Okay. Well, yeah. So that's one thing. When they become available, jump on them, because they make a limited amount and then they're gone.
Yeah, there's not too many.
And they said that this one was going to go up to Crazy Face. Mm-hmm. I think when Clive was asking, so where are we at now? Because he knows their biographies. And I don't, I'll have to read to know where that all fits in, because where all the plays are in relation to each other is kind of a blur, which is, a good reason to buy these books.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So that was cool. That was something we wanted to ask. We want to ask Phil and Sarah about.
These books are just limited. Each run of them is limited to 250 individually numbered hardback copies.
There we go. So and you've got 2 each.
Yeah.
So Phil and Sarah, if you're listening, we would love to have you on the show. We keep talking about it, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, we'd love to get you guys here on the show.
Yeah,
because they're doing an amazing job. They're the official resource for Clive Barker, and they make they are his personal archivists. They were the ones who first envisioned the magnificence of Ann Bobby singing "Johnny Get Angry."
Yeah,
since
it was first filmed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, pretty cool. And then they also said they've been working on a Hellraiser book, which is only about the first Hellraiser movie, and a Nightbreed book.
Okay, am I crazy here, or is this the first time I've ever heard of these projects?
Well, no, you heard about the Nightbreed book, because I think it's the same one they were talking about.
The production process for the Nightbreed movie.
Yeah, which would be really cool if it was included with the release of the extended cut. I doubt that that's going to be able to get coordinated to happen. It would be awesome, but it just kind of seems like they do their own thing. Scream Factory. I mean.
Yeah, in either case, I would gladly buy. Separately. If I had to,
yeah. No I think that doing that, it would be cool if it was like this super set that had theatrical cut and the new extended cut and the Cabal cut and a book. But then we're talking about probably a $60 release,
and it would be an object that would be too awesome to exist in our plane of existence.
Yeah. Well, and that's true.
It's just fold into space and go into the quiddity.
And that's a good segue, actually, into our next thing. So Scream Factory tweeted us. By us, I mean Occupy Midian. They tagged Occupy Midian and Clive Barker. They said, expect a significant update of our long-awaited Nightbreed, the director's cut, released sometime next week. So they wrote Nightbreed, the director's cut in all caps to say, look, this is the official title, Nightbreed, the director's cut. So everybody can stop calling it the Cabal cut, because that's a separate thing.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely no disrespect to anybody involved in the Cabal cut. But it was almost all there, but it was not an enjoyable movie experience yet that you could put on a disc. It was just a curiosity to me.
Yeah, I
don't want to sound mean, but I wasn't terribly impressed with the quality of the footage. For starters.
Well, that part was tough, but I just loved seeing all the extra stuff so much that I didn't mind that. I mean, it was a little bit of a strain on the eyes trying to see what was going on, especially in Midian where it was all dark. Yeah. Well, I still would love to have seen it mixed in with the release. I mean, because it was an event for all of us, right? I mean, it was a big deal, and we, Occupy Midian was because of that.
I mean, sure. I mean, if you want to get fancy about it, it's almost like a little piece of movie history.
Yeah, it is. It is for us Clive Barker fans, right?
Because it was a movie that was considered not to be in its perfect form, that had faults, and that the director had planned for a better movie. But
I'm kind of digressing a little bit, but I'm not super up on recent movie history. Has there ever been a fan movement like Occupy Midian that was successful the way Occupy Midian was? I'm not trying to brag about what we did or anything. I'm just curious if this is normal. I mean, has this happened other times before where...
I guess mostly some B movies and horror movies. These things do tend to come out after a few years. You know, movies that you've seen that were probably cut when you saw them, like Return of the Evil Dead, or there's all sorts of versions out there, especially on TV from country to country, DVD.
Yeah, but I mean, where the studio was so opposed to doing anything with the movie, like they're like, no, we hate that movie. That movie, lost us a bunch of money. It's not worth putting on Blu-ray, et cetera, et cetera. Where has there ever been another movement successful in turning that around and making it happen? That's
a good question. I guess I don't know.
I don't know either. If any listeners out there can think of movements like that, I'd like to hear about it, because I think that's really cool, and I was really happy to be a part of this.
I guess for stuff like those shows, that TV shows that are canceled, and then there are these huge campaigns. And finally, years afterwards, they say, well, okay, yeah, let's make a movie with the characters from that TV show. And everybody gets really, really happy, and then the movie never happens. And yeah.
There was one that was successful. I'm trying to think of Veronica Mars, right? Wasn't that?
Yeah, they went to
Kickstarter. That was crowdfunded, but that was not, that wasn't started by the fans, right? That was started by the fans supported it, but really the studio or the creative people behind the show wanted to make that movie, and they organized everything. I mean, not to say that we organized this movie, because we sure didn't. But we got the momentum going. We Occupy Midian got them.
Yeah, we did.
Got the interest going and got the momentum going. And probably if it weren't for Occupy Midian, there wouldn't have been so many screenings of the Cabal Cut, and if there weren't so many screenings of the Cabal Cut, we wouldn't have so many signatures on the petition.
Right. Let's have some faith in the people that are working on this, because I hear a lot of people complaining about stuff like, oh, if they make it anywhere near DVD footage, it's going to be a miracle.
Yeah.
You don't know that. You don't know that. You know that nowadays there are restoration techniques.
Yeah.
And stuff people do digitally.
I will never understand complaining about something before you've seen it.
And, studios generally don't just throw these things away, let's throw all the celluloid away. So they hold on to these things.
And why are people like that even on Occupy Midian? You could, if you think that something's not going to be good, then you just don't think about it, right? You don't buy it. You don't. I don't understand why somebody wants to go and go on to Occupy Midian to sort of rain on everybody's parade, I guess. Yeah. So we can kind of go into some of the things that people said here in response, our listener questions. So, John, this is in response to the Scream Factory announcement that there's going to be news next week. John Q. Thompson said, at most, we will get the artwork they're using and a list of bonus materials, possibly a firm release date as well. Without getting into the rumors that we have heard, I would say keep an open mind.
Yeah. So it's amazing, guys, that they announced a deal in the San Diego Comic-Con in a panel with Scream Factory, where they invited Mark Miller to be there to announce with them that they were going to do the release. And now it's 1 year later, and they're already getting ready to announce the release. So
yeah. Well, announce when it's going to be available. They'll talk about what's going to be on it. And this is a huge deal for us. This is what everybody at Occupy Midian wants to know. So if everybody on Occupy Midian's been kind of sleepy and has been, playing games about Nightbreed characters and
and Amiga computers.
Yeah. So now, we're back on track, right? Whoa, I just dropped my microphone. We're starting to get news again. So, everybody wake up. We're going to start pushing the crap out of this pre-order when it happens.
Oh, yeah. I'm not familiar with the run of Blu-rays from Screen Factory. So
I don't think you can go to like a Target or a Fred Meyer or a Walmart and buy Scream Factory Blu-rays, right? I mean, I've never seen them anywhere except online.
Yeah, or Amazon.
Probably some specialty place, like you could go to Dark Delicacies and they would have them, but they're not like mass market, widely distributed, right? I mean, you get them online, mostly mail order. So, so we should push the pre-order really hard, and nobody's really said anything about the region. Hopefully maybe Scream Factory will make an exception and make it region 0 or whatever.
I don't know.
That's probably a long shot. And I'm going to be really happy just to get the North American one, and then hopefully that'll be successful, like you said, and then they'll go on and work through their distribution legal issues to get the other regions finished.
Right. Because we know that sometimes these things aren't so linear when you cross borders into another country and blah blah blah. So.
Yeah. So next week we'll have really exciting news, and maybe we'll jump in early and do another podcast if it's exciting enough news. Who knows?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be great. I'm going to be checking out Scream Factory's Twitter every day.
Yeah, for sure. And Clive Barker favorited when we said we can't wait. Clive Barker favorited our tweet. So that was awesome.
That's awesome. I'm still waiting to see where Next Testament is going to end. So I've seen covers for like the upcoming Next Testament.
Yeah, I'm trying not to look at those.
Yeah, because those covers can be pretty spoilery.
Oh yeah. I saw a glimpse of one that I'm not even going to say. But but it's like, okay. I mean, I kind of figured it was what was going to happen, but I don't know.
Yeah, I got hints of this if it is what I'm thinking it is. Mm-hmm. I got hints of this when I was reading the first one.
And Clive had said this is going to be it. When it hits number 12, there'd be no more. There'd be no adding to the story, no prequels, no movies, or other stories. This is it. These 12 issues, they're the whole entire story.
Yeah, I mean, there's a part here where Revelations is talking to Clive about movies and how they're having good casting for their movies, especially with Lena Headey.
Yeah.
But and then he says, "We've been blessed." And then Revelation says, "Yeah, if you think you have a Bradley Cooper or a Jackson Rathbone," and I'm like, "Oh man, they mentioned Dredd. I can't believe it." Honestly, that dude, he might be an excellent actor. I have no idea because I've only seen it in that movie, and for me, he sucks. His hair is laughable.
Was he the main guy in Dredd, or was he the professor?
He was the guy who was afraid of being deaf.
Okay, yeah.
He was he was the narrator.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, the narrator, they made the guy that was deaf a different character.
Right.
Yeah. So that they could screw him up and he'd be okay.
Spoiler.
Oh, that's okay. We spoiled it in an earlier episode.
Yeah, well. So, and then they mention also Vinnie Jones, who was an actually good Mahogany.
Yeah. Then, well, geez, and I mean, they should have mentioned Harry D'Amour. Why is his
Scott
name?
Bakula.
Scott Bakula. Yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah, and he owns the Enterprise. But it's true, and they're talking here a little bit about Next Testament, and they say that Mark Miller couldn't be in this call because he was off to Paris.
Yeah, and I've seen his wife has been posting pictures of them in Paris.
Oh, cool.
On Facebook.
So the one helping Clive with this interview was Ben Mears, who we've had on the podcast before. So. Yeah,
and actually, though, I've never seen any of Clive's people directly talking in the interviews before, right? Is this the first time that's happened?
It is the first time, I think. Yeah, I noticed that too. Yeah.
Yeah, which was cool. I mean, it was neat to see Ben Mears' perspective on the comics, and he's a creative consultant for Hellraiser Bestiary and for the Nightbreed comic.
Sure.
Yeah.
Ben Mears says he's been working as creative consultant on the Nightbreed comic and on the upcoming Hellraiser Bestiary. He's writing at least one story per issue. And each issue will be 3 stories apiece, going back to like the early 90s, late 80s idea.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that style. I mean,
yeah, and that in that interview, they kind of mirrored how you're feeling about those comics,
because they said the anthology ones are the ones that still sell in Barnes and Noble, and they're still loved. They had like stuff with Mike Mignola and Steve Niles, John Bolton, and
Well, and they said it launched their careers.
Sure, yeah. I remember reading Marvel's the miniseries that was painted by Alex Ross. And in the beginning, I think Mark McLaurin was the editor or something, and he was writing like the foreword. And he mentioned something about Alex Ross having done work for Hellraiser. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad they went back to this style of story, because when you have these long arcs of stories, I'm impatient to wait for the next month,
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. That's a good point, because I'll find myself having to go back and scan the last one before I read the next one again. It's like, oh yeah, what was going on?
But the really exciting part in this interview is when they talk about Madefire. They're adapting all of the Books of Blood with Madefire.
Yeah. Well, and we knew that. I mean, they had announced that they were doing Books of Blood, but they didn't say all of them before, not until now.
And I thought they were going to do, like, I don't know. I mean, there really was no way they could do this except hiring an artist, make him draw a comic, and then animating the comic.
They shouldn't do Jacqueline S. right now, not when the movie's on its way.
Right.
And it'll be weird seeing all the ones with movie adaptations. Like Midnight Meat Train or the Book of Blood or the Forbidden. I mean, think of that, right? I mean, yeah. So imagine seeing a totally faithful, straight version of the Forbidden and not thinking of Candyman.
That story has never been actually adapted in comic book either, so.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it's cool. I think it'll be neat to see them adapted and maybe not tainted by the movies. Well, that'll be cool. I mean, and the music by Chris Velasco.
Yeah, Chris Velasco. He did the soundtrack for Jericho.
Yeah, which is a good soundtrack. It's
amazing.
It's kind of churchy sounding, I guess. It's got a lot of chorus.
Yeah, because that game had a lot of scenes inside like this huge cathedral-like building.
Yeah, but that's all we know about him, right? I mean, I'm sure he's got more range, and he does different kinds of things for different projects. We just, don't really know his other work.
I've been thinking about buying this game again, and it's really cheap on Amazon.
Oh, Jericho.
Yeah.
I have the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3 version.
Oh, do those have like better graphics than the PC?
No, I don't imagine that they do.
I was just asking because sometimes some games are like ported from console to PC and they look terrible on the PC, but they look great on the consoles. So I
don't know. Maybe it's possible. I didn't really keep track of that. Yeah. I don't know which one was first.
I think Codemasters released it for PC first, maybe.
Probably. I think they're more of a PC developer, aren't they?
Yeah, I got that impression. So. It was awesome. It was a little repetitive at some points.
Yeah, I think it was a great game, and the story was awesome. It was really moody. I didn't like the quick time events. Mm-hmm. Like you fall in the hole and you have to press a series of buttons to not die.
Yeah.
So that you can catch the ledge or whatever it is, and not, and if you screw it up, you're looped back to the beginning of falling in the hole, and I don't know. That sort of broke the eerie atmosphere.
Yeah, but the atmosphere was completely made by Chris Velasco and his soundtrack. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean the monsters were kind of creepy and scary, but it was really more the music, for sure.
Oh, and also Clive Barker reveals that they're building Book of Blood right now. Actually, Gareth Barker is our builder on it. He uses the tool and is taken to it like a duck to water. So that's his nephew.
Does that mean that he created and made fire?
I don't know. I also find it hard to understand exactly what he's saying that he's building. I imagine he's building the episodes, the Flash technology to animate them, or the animation technology.
Right. So then, because I think he had, because I think He's not the artist, right?
No, the artist is a guy called Sam Sheeran, who's going to be illustrating at least everything from Volume 1, and Mark wrote the adaptation for Book of Blood, and I've written the adaptation for the subsequent 5 stories, and we're just building Book of Blood right now. And then it says that Gareth Barker is our builder. He uses the tool and is taken to it like a duck to water. I'm assuming he's animating these stories.
I think you're probably right. And in a way, animating them is also being a director, because you got to line up the musical cues with the motion of the comics.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen one motion comic before. I thought it was kind of a cool idea. But what the weird thing is that there's been a lot of comic adaptations of Books of Blood stories already. But they're not doing those, right? They're not going back to those epic stories. They're starting all over again.
If they go for a continuity, then they are very limited in some directions they might want to take.
Yeah.
That's why they're starting over for Nightbreed. If they started Nightbreed again, but it said, let's do it with where the other one left off, it would probably not be too interesting, because the stories at that time were a little weird.
Yeah. Well, and you can't be thinking about previous adaptations, right? You just want it to be pure.
Sure.
So, like when they make the Yattering and Jack, right? They're not going to copy that television Tales from the Dark Side episode.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah, because that was way different from the story, and a lot of that was just the budget of the show. But
a little person painted red with horns stuck to his forehead.
Yeah, please. Oh, and it was really censored, or not censored, but it was really neutered, I guess, compared to the story.
Yeah.
Oh man, can you imagine Rawhead Rex?
Yeah, if they did it the way they did the Eclipse graphic novel,
Yeah. So that Eclipse graphic novel was awesome.
Yeah, that was like how I imagined it in my mind.
These things make me want to see movies, though, like not the old Rawhead Rex movie, but a new one. I would love to see a modern Rawhead Rex.
Should we start an Occupy Tall Man Lodge?
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. I'm sure that Clive Barker has probably already considered doing that. And there may be even not a script, but what do you call that? I mean, he's got an old script, but there may be a treatment already for doing, And didn't he sue them to stop them from doing any other Books of Blood adaptations?
I guess so.
Green Man Productions?
Yeah, I guess he only sold them I think he bought some rights back or something like that.
Yeah, there was some legal thing, and but I don't know. Yeah, does he have the right to do? Even if he didn't have the right to do Rawhead Rex again, it seems like it'd be pretty easy to get it. I mean, I seriously doubt that those guys have done anything important since.
Sure. I guess you never know, though. Some properties you sell, and then you don't know who sold it to who and who owns it now. And I mean, I guess sometimes it might be just easier to just say, let's just move on to the next property. This one, too hard to get the rights. And
there's only so much time, and Clive Barker wants to focus on novels and he's not going to be directing movies.
Right.
What the heck happened to Zombies versus Gladiators?
I don't know. Sometimes I wake up and I wonder, did I really read that or did I dream it? I have no idea. Is that going to be a thing?
That was the weirdest Clive Barker news ever.
Yeah, it was like someone was bothering Clive Barker and say, hey, Clive, can you say you're going to do my movie? Can you say you're going to do my movie? Can you say, all right, I may do your movie. And then he just makes Clive Barker signs up to write, Gladiators and Zombies.
Yeah. And I was scared of that movie, but I was even more scared of the possibility of an adaptation of Tortured Souls. Because I think after reading the Tortured Souls story, I kept thinking there's really not enough. I mean, there's good description of the characters, but there's not enough world to make a believable movie out of.
Yeah, I agree. I think you nailed it there.
So I don't know. I mean, but Zombies versus Gladiators. I mean, some of the early pitch stuff is unbelievably corny. I know. I mean, the pre Clive Barker involvement stuff was just god awful.
The tears would heal the zombies or something.
Yeah, and some of the little pitch movies that they made were just painfully horrible to watch.
Like I said, I still don't know why this news came out.
And what is Amazon doing? I mean, are they just sitting on all this stuff?
I guess they're trying to develop stuff. They already have shows developed for Amazon Prime.
Yeah, TV shows, but they haven't done any movies.
No.
I mean, they keep talking about movies, but they don't do them. And they're too busy making a telephone and helicopter things to deliver your packages.
The drones.
Yeah.
Open season.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, eventually, if they're doing TV, they'll probably come up with a movie.
Yeah.
So there's another funny thing here also in the interview is we mentioned they talk about Jacqueline S. And then there's this quote. He says that it's a wonderful casting, and I think the movie shows every sign of being really a class act. And, we have a female director, obviously a female star, a female protagonist, and I'm excited, very excited. This is probably going to be a very feminine view of uncomfortable things about being a female and how women deal with, certain situations. Because if it was made by a man, probably he would focus on the wrong things, or he wouldn't hit the right marks.
Yeah, it would be about how Jacqueline is this hot woman that is unobtainable.
Yeah, it's just like the perspective, has to be accurate.
Yeah, right. But it is from the perspective of this guy that's chasing her more than it. I don't know. Maybe I think it's both actually. The short story, Clive jumps around in different points of view, and it's hard to know who the main character is.
Right. It starts with inside the head of Jacqueline S.
Yeah, and is it Vassy is the main guy?
Yeah,
Oliver Vassy, I think.
Yeah, that's his will and testament. He gives it to Koos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder. This is gonna be great having a female perspective on this also.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, each of the genders knows best how to come up with weird things about itself. So
yeah, sure.
Let's see what kind of special effects we're gonna see Jacqueline S do.
Oh man, yeah, it's gonna be uncomfortable, I think.
Yep.
But Midnight Meat Train was uncomfortable for me too.
And so he also says that the involvement. He talks about the involvement of Russell Charrington. Revelations asks, "Can you share some of the history of how the project came to you and to Seraphin, Clive?" And Clive says, "Well, we initiated it. It was always something we wanted to do. Russell Charrington did a script, and Russell was going to direct at one point. And then we moved on to this young lady who I knew through Rue Morgue, so Jovanka Vukovic. One of the things that Russell Charrington was involved with, and we couldn't tell you guys about it.
Yeah.
We were supposed to reveal this episode after the Burlingame screening of the Cabal Cut, but apparently things took another direction. So here we are with Jovanka and Lena Headey.
Yeah, and Russell is a co-executive producer for the movie.
Yeah, and another one of our friends was involved with the script, Kristen Francis.
Yeah, who's been on our podcast also.
Yep.
Yeah, he's co-writing it with Jovanka, so they've been trading the script back and forth and working on it collaboratively.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I read an early draft of the script, but he said that one was he doesn't like that one now, and so it's what's out there now is completely different.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I know that they're going to come up with a really good script.
Yeah. Yeah, so this episode, we were going to do the Great and Secret Show. This is kind of my fault. I'm not quite ready yet. I've read the first couple of, little mini chapters so far. I mean, I've read the book a few times, but not in this decade. So I'm starting it again, and I'm at the part where Jaffe's traveling around. He had just left the Dead Letter office.
Sure.
So I'm not very far, and I want to at least get, halfway through the book before we start. So maybe the whole thing. Anyway, that's kind of my fault. But so we're doing kind of a listener feedback and question and stuff episode. Mm-hmm. So our first one is from Fernando, who's been on our podcast. He says, "Are we going back to Palomo Grove?" Talking about, and yep, probably next time. If we have really exciting news about Occupy Midian, maybe that'll be in the news, or maybe we'll do a whole episode about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Nightbreed movie. So, yeah, Paulo Mulgrove, of course, is a reference to the Great and Secret Show. But, yeah, for sure, we will. Victoria Romo said, I'd like to comment on how badly I ship Malingo, Geshrat, and Candy and ask if they will end up together. So, yeah, and then you had asked her, what does ship mean? Because it's like, doesn't really make sense in that context.
Right, it's pairing up in, the fan universe.
Ship is nerdy, geeky fan speak for supporting a romantic pair of characters.
Right.
I have never heard that in my life.
Actually, since I learned this, I've seen it in another place, and yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've seen it being used like that.
But ship has got already enough meanings. We don't need to give it more meanings, right?
Well, I guess.
Yeah. Is ship short for like relationship?
No, I think it means like you ship them off together. I don't know. I don't know this lingo.
It hurts my teeth.
Okay.
So no offense, Victoria Romo, but you know, I felt my heart sink when you said something about your parents were big fans of Nightbreed and saw it, you know, when it came out, and it's like, oh, we're so old now.
Yeah, your parents.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that was like
1990. It came out 24.
24. Yeah.
Yeah. 25 since they filmed it, and 24 since it came out in the theaters. So Josh Stetz says, with all the connections you guys seem to have, Occupy Midian, being in touch with Mark Miller, Russell Charrington, etc., have you ever considered or tried to get Clive Barker on the podcast? I'm sure it'd be difficult, but maybe with enough advance, he could find the time for either an entire episode or maybe just a short interview. Personally, I think that would be a pretty amazing way to celebrate episode 100. Yeah. You know, I mean, we're the Clive Barker podcast, so of course we've talked about it.
Yeah, and then didn't we talk about trying to go for an episode 100 with Clive Barker? Gee.
Yeah, we have for sure, and we definitely have
before this.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing to think about too is this is episode 75, and we do one of these every other week. So we're talking about the middle of 2015 is when episode 100 is going to happen. Mm-hmm. So it's not a short time from now. And and my response to this was, I don't think it'll be super difficult to do. I mean, I've met him like 10 times. We know, like you said, we know, from doing this stuff, we know a lot of the people. I think that we could probably arrange it. But the longer we wait, the better it will be for everybody. I mean, we want Clive to feel up to it. Yeah, we want to be prepared. That's the hard thing, because I don't want it. You don't want to interview Clive Barker, and your first question is, where do you get your ideas? Where do you get your ideas from? Yeah. Yeah, or there was the awkward time when I, for the Midnight Meat Train signing, when I said, I was really mad that about what Lionsgate did to you, and he goes, "You were mad." I'm like, oh man, I'm just trying to be supportive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's and also, our podcast is about Clive Barker and his works and everything, and I don't want it to be over. I guess I don't want. That seems like something you do at the end.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. It seems like the
culmination. Yeah.
The point where you can't go, that's it, you've done it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't say that about Clive Barker because he's never done. So you're always following his art. No,
that's true. And we're, I mean, geez, I look at my bookshelf to see where we're at, and it's like the Great and Secret Show. I mean, holy cow, we're still in the 80s. So, I mean, we've got a long way to go. I mean, and I think that we can do it. Somebody said, and then he said, can't wait to hear the Great and Secret Show discussion. That was my intro to Clive Barker's books and remains one of my favorites. Will you be jumping straight to Everville afterwards? I think in a perfect world we would, but I can't find the time to read them fast enough to do that. So, like today, I think that we'll probably need some kind of a break of something else in between.
Absolutely. Something, that you can do just one episode or a two-parter, or you talk about a comic book series or something. There's so many things we can do.
Or an interview, something short.
Yeah, one of our males can get a positive answer and go like, yeah, I'll talk to you guys, sure.
Yeah, I mean, and that happens all the time. And I've got a list of people interviews that didn't work out, like last year or months ago, and that we didn't, we just kind of let it go. There's people we could go back, and say, hey, you told us you would do this, So we've got people for sure. One thing we've been talking about is the people at Shout Factory. I mean, they didn't want to talk to us when there was no news about the movie,
which makes some sense. Yeah, it's just that we're so impatient. We wanted to know.
It would be, I could see that they would feel pressure, wanting to do an interview with us, because that's all we'll want to talk about is Nightbreed, and wasn't a lot to say.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, and then about Occupy Midian, John Q. Thompson said, so is this group going to be dismantled upon release date? I mean, we all have achieved what we set out to do, and more, considering we're also getting a special edition of Lord of Illusions. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think before this question came up, you and I were debating it quite a bit. There's not a really simple answer to that. I mean, the one thing that I think that we've agreed to is that we want to have the movie come out. We want to celebrate the movie until, if it comes out around Halloween, then we celebrate the movie through the end of 2014.
Yeah.
And keep everything the same on Occupy Midian. So then the beginning of 2015, that's when Occupy Midian, the Facebook group, is going to change. And we don't know exactly what that change is going to be, if it's going to go away, if it's going to be, one thing that I brought up was calling it like Occupy Midian, like a group, what was it? Occupy Midian and Clive Barker's a celebration of Nightbreed and the works of Clive Barker, something like that. Or maybe just, and you had mentioned maybe making it, keeping Nightbreed going, because the people that are there for Nightbreed, maybe not everybody on Occupy Midian is a fan of everything that Clive Barker does.
Right.
And that's okay too.
Yeah, that's big on the Hellraiser community.
Yeah.
A lot of people just like Hellraiser. They don't really like Aberrat or any of that stuff. They go like, oh no, that's not for me.
And of course, it's tempting to call it the Clive Barker Podcast Group, but that's not. That would be a little egotistical of us, and obviously we're not going to do that. But it's tempting. It's fun. It would be funny, but I don't think so. Troy Gardner said, "I imagine it will stay together for a few months after, at least." Yeah. I mean, that's what we talked about. He said, I mean, where else will people complain about when one minor thing doesn't 100% meet their expectations? Probably that's going to happen, but I don't want to think about that right now.
Ultimately, they have to understand that this is not a holy grail or something. This is a movie.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a movie.
Yeah.
You don't expect the Blu-ray to be coated in gold and be like, everything's going to be, I can see Peliquin's pores.
We have to remember that the vast majority of the people on Occupy Midian haven't seen the Cabal cut either. This is going to be their first shot at the extended material on Nightbreed. So they have high hopes.
Blow their minds.
Yeah, they have high hopes, and they're worried about being disappointed. Which, I mean, I can understand that, but just, try to watch it and try to go in there not having expectations.
Yeah, it's like you and I and other people, we've been here since day one. And for a lot of you people out there, it's like, oh, yeah, man, I remember Nightbreed. I wish that movie would finally come out as a director's cut. Mm. And then you hear the news. Oh, it's coming out this fall. And they're going like, oh, man, that's amazing. So they go in there and they say, hey, how's it going to be? What were those screenings like? And people say, oh, dude, that was just like a VHS tape with like numbers on the top and really, really, crappy quality and stuff. And they'll be like, oh, no, is that what it's going to be? Yeah. And just wait and see,
Yeah, keep in mind that they started over again.
Because these guys, look back at what these guys release. Yeah. Scream and Shout Factory. Just look at the quality of the stuff they release and ask yourselves, what is that restoration going to be like?
So just imagine the best material and the best equipment that they can get their hands on.
Sure.
And a budget. So in that respect, it's just not the same thing as the Cabal cut. And the Cabal cut was awesome, and I was so happy to be a part of it. But they're starting over again.
It was basically a blueprint. It was a promise.
Yeah.
It was like that little spark, that sets the fire, but by itself it just fizzles out.
Yeah, it was saying, "Hey, look at what you're missing, everybody. We need to make a commercial release."
That's exactly what it was, and it was huge, for doing that, and it was huge for everyone who first saw it for the first time.
Yeah.
Boy, and it's going to be there. Nobody's going to stop talking about it, and I would like to see it be released. Who knows? I don't know. Is there anybody out there with DVDs of the Cabal Cut that you want to?
Yeah.
Oh God, maybe I shouldn't say this.
No, Morgan Creek would not be happy about that.
No. So people just wait and see. I'm sure it's going to be great. So far, there's going to be some kind of extras. Definitely, that it can't be a bare bones edition. Of course, that would be ridiculous. Yeah. But so there's going to be the movie. You're going to have extras, and those extras are going to be things you probably never even saw, when this movie came out, or in your whole life.
Yeah,
just wait and see.
And John Hugh Thompson again said, maybe start the effort petition. This was a suggestion for Occupy Midian. Start the effort petition or whatever to get Paramount to license out Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth to Shout Factory as a collector's edition for Blu-ray release. Considering how Clive and Shout now have trust and working relationship, Clive will give his blessing. Or go one step further and try to get a trilogy Blu-ray release from Shout Scream Factory, asking that they release the first 3 Hellraiser films, unrated versions as special editions. I was all for turning Occupy Midian into a movement to get an extended cut, or to get a Blu-ray extended cut of Lord of Illusions, because that's a pure Clive Barker movie. That's a movie that he wrote and directed and produced. And
this one's Anthony Hickok's movie, right?
Yeah, and Clive Barker contributed. He helped come up with the story. I would, if it was Hellraiser 1, I would say yes, but it doesn't need any help.
Okay.
And Hellraiser 2, maybe, but Hellraiser 2's got a good Blu-ray also of the extended edition already. Yeah. Maybe it could use better special features or something, but, I don't see the need to fight for those.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like Anthony Hickok has complained that his, directorial vision has not been fulfilled. Every time I've heard him talk about Hellraiser 3, he seems amazingly, pleased with the movie he made. He had a fun time doing it,
And I can't remember if I've seen the unrated version or the extended version, but it's like just a little tiny bit bloodier, right?
Yeah, it doesn't really do any changes in the history. There's
the scene in the nightclub is less implied and more like actually showing what's happening to the people. Isn't that what it is? I thought. A few shots like when Terry is having coffee in the club, and then JP leans in, and you see his face in the coffee before the camera looks up. Oh,
stuff like that.
Okay, so it was just. They were just little trims that they made for time. Yeah, it's not like what happened to Nightbreed. Nightbreed is a completely different movie.
Oh, yeah.
And Lord of Illusions, the problem is like, what happened to why didn't this movie ever get put on Blu-ray? And now there's a European or a UK Blu-ray that doesn't have the extended cut in high definition. It's like, what happened there?
The director's cut, yeah.
So it's like, what happened there? Why is the director's cut in DVD quality? That was always the home video version that we had. Where did it go?
Yeah, 101 Films once answered a fan on Facebook, and he asked, why is the director's cut going to be in DVD instead of Blu-ray? And 101 Films account replied something like,
MGM.
MGM does not, have the HD masters for this. Can't find them.
I say bull.
Yeah, I believe that the American edition that's going to come out from Scream Factory is going to be HD director's cut. I completely believe that.
What was that, 94, 95 that movie came out?
Lord of Illusions? I think it was 95, right?
Yeah, right. That's not I don't know. It's not that long ago. They made all these releases of the director's cut. Yeah, I mean, the director's cut is easier to find than the theatrical cut. So how can they say now that's gone?
They just misplaced it, I guess.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that it's lost forever.
And that's a big difference between the director's and the theatrical cut. I saw the theatrical version like 3 times in the theater when it came out, and the director's cut has some disturbing stuff that's different, and it's got Harry's dream. Mm-hmm. Harry's dream of the is it Ludovico Street?
Oh, you mean the part where he dreams is cut from the theatrical cut?
I think that's right. And and all of the cultists, the when they left their families, and that whole scene is that song and that whole scene is gone.
Oh. And
when Butterfield stabs the electrical panel with the bar or the knife or whatever it is that he's got there.
You're killing me. Really? They took that out?
Well, I mean, he does it and he gets shocked and then it cuts away. So you don't see like him getting shocked over and over and and like his face bursts open. All of that's not in there. Yeah,
I don't know why they took that out of the movie, because they took a lot of stuff also that gave exposition to the movie. Like there's a part where Swan and Harry the Moor are driving a car and they're talking, and I think that part where he's talking about why he pretended to be dead and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it got cut out.
Yeah, some of that part got cut out, and some of that part is important for the story.
Yeah, and I haven't seen that movie in almost 20 years now, so I mean the theatrical version. I've watched the director's cut a lot, but I'd be interested. Yeah, I don't know if I want to take the time to watch the theatrical cut again. If I was getting the 101 Films release, I would to see it in HD. But now
it's really awesome. I've seen it in HD on the MGM HD channel.
Mm-hmm.
They have Lord of Illusions, but it's the theatrical cut.
So getting back to what we were talking about, I don't feel that any Hellraiser movie needs to have the fans fighting for it. You know what I mean? Like Hellraiser 1 and 2 are strong enough and get good releases already. Hellraiser 3, I don't know. Is there a Blu-ray of that? I'm not sure. All the rest of them after Hellraiser 3, who cares?
Yeah.
But Hellraiser 3, I mean, you like it. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think that movie was robbed of what it could have been.
Maybe by its budget.
Yeah, you're right. But they can't fix that. Q Thompson also said, I'm sure you can definitely keep this going based on complaints on the release alone. No one will be forever content. People need to start coming to grips with that. If the Cabal footage is even DVD quality, it's a miracle. This is what you were talking about before. I guess people will always be discovering it as well and want to come here to discuss what we've already discussed before and annoy people. I think that's a pretty negative way to look at it. Let's just wait and see what happens.
Why speculate on something that it's so close to being announced,
Yeah.
Just wait. Just wait until next week and see what comes out.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, and speaking on a personal level, I think it would be a smart idea to start showing, like, teaser things. Like a screen cap or something, hey, check this out. This is how the restoration is going. Or this is how the footage is going to look like.
But on the other hand, they're probably not used to people bugging them as much as Occupy Midian people have been bugging them and going crazy for this release.
Right, because collectors go after these guys. They don't have to do anything except just put out the DVDs and they'll get bought.
Yeah, exactly. They probably never really felt like they needed to make news about their progress before.
Right, yeah.
Which is totally fine. So Donnie Fitzgerald said, well, I don't want us to end. I've been around since the olden days of Yahoo groups, and I'd like us to remain below. Mm-hmm. Don't want to lose touch with my new friends and old ones. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Occupy Midian has been great for that. Obviously, we don't really have 8,000 friends. There's really only a fraction of that are the people who are active members that actually, contribute and to the discussion and things on there. But yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I don't want to see it go either, but I don't want it to fizzle out and not have a purpose.
Yeah.
So that's what we're struggling with, I think. Yeah. Well, and I was happy to be sort of an army of, for Occupy Midian to be an army for helping Clive Barker's projects get made or, get fixed or, whatever they could be. We could say Occupy Midian, get Jacqueline S funded. Because so far, I think it hasn't been. Despite the fact that Lena Headey is in it. I mean, it was huge news, and I would think that people they would jump on it.
I would think so too. I mean, maybe they're afraid of Clive Barker because I don't know what these people associate with Clive Barker, but they obviously don't associate Aberrat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they only know the superficial, knowledge about Clive Barker, which is the guy from Hellraiser and the Pin dude.
I think that's the problem. I think that if you can't pigeonhole somebody, if they make Hellraiser and you go, yeah, sure, well, the Hellraiser was a big hit and that's a crazy movie, make another one of those. And then
like the sequel to Cujo.
Yeah, and then he makes Nightbreed and they're like, what is this? This is not what we expected. This isn't Hellraiser again. This is something weird. I mean, and where is this movie going? If you're not careful, the monsters are going to be the good guys.
Yeah. That infamous.
Yeah. So I guess the point is that we had such a powerful challenge for Occupy Midian that got it started, and I don't see anything the equal of what we had to do.
Yeah, this definitely was a huge deal for me. It was kind of like my confirmation as a Clive Barker fan. It's like, all right, you do this, geez, you deserve a job.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so...
Mark Ferndale said, don't forget this is a U.S.-only release. What about the rest of the world? It just worries me that once this version is out, most people are going to lose interest. We don't know 100% that it's a U.S.-only release. I think there's a good chance that that's probably true, but no one has said for sure. And all we've heard about, what about, when we ask, what about the international release? What about European or UK? That they're looking into it and that don't worry, it's on their minds. I think most people can import it and play it on a region-free player. People are annoyed by that because they're not being acknowledged, which I can understand. I can understand not feeling like you're not acknowledged because there was never even a DVD in Europe, right? Or in some parts of Europe, there was a crappy DVD.
Yeah, I only had a VHS.
I would hope that would get addressed. And, and you had said... And I think we've all said this before, buy this thing, the interest and, the money talks. When it's successful, they'll say, yeah, we feel really good about, releasing this in other countries. I mean, I wish that it was region free. I mean, who enforces these stupid regions anyway?
I don't know. It's supposed to combat piracy or something. Honestly, I don't think it does any good. I mean...
Yeah, right. Who's pirating Blu-rays? I've never heard of any pirated Blu-rays.
There are pirated Blu-rays.
Well, I mean, I guess the movies are online now, right? That's what it is.
No. I mean, there's actual. I mean, when I was studying in Spain and I was walking on the boardwalk in front of the beach, there were always these guys selling, like on the floor, on top of a bag or something. They were like, "Hey, you want the new Iron Man 2?" And it was like the Blu-ray copy of it, but except it was just in a crappy little envelope.
Yeah. I remember like in 1989 or 1990, I was at a Seattle Comic-Con. Before that was a big thing. There was a guy at it because it was all the tables were mostly like people who had comic books to sell. And there was one guy that was buying Laserdisc special edition box sets of movies and making VHS copies of them and selling the VHS copies.
Oh God.
So
wow.
Genius. Yeah, so he had the Alien director's cut, back in like 1989 or 1990 that he was selling to everybody. I couldn't afford that. I mean, I had a Laserdisc player and I loved Laserdiscs, but that was over $100. So, I mean, that was always tempting. It just floored me that people could go to a public forum and sell pirated stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I mean that that's why they put it on top of a bag, and the bag would have like wires tied to each corner of the bag. So if the cops arrived, they would just pull on the wires, close the bag, and just start legging it.
Well, at a comic book convention, they can't do that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, those places are weird, you know, the things they allow. I mean, you were at one convention where something like that happened, and, you know, Russell was with you, and he kind of said, hey, you know, this stuff you can't sell this stuff. This copyright by Parker.
Right. Yeah. Actually, right next to the Pyramid Gallery booth, there was a booth of all pirated DVDs of weird, like, work print footage stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually bought the A to Z of horror there. You know, because it's bad quality. It was obviously copied right off the TV. You know, so Mark McCurley said, Ryan, maybe also talk about the restored versions of Twin Peaks and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which will also be released on July 29th and September 16th. People on here seem to be interested in those also being being of the newly discovered footage and 4K restored categories. Best.
Yeah, these two things that he mentioned, I'm more interested in the complete mystery Twin Peaks release.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I'm a big Twin Peaks fan, and you know the movie Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah. So, I used to have Fire Walk with Me. I used to watch that all the time, but and I've seen all of the TV shows at least one time through. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I've never seen.
Yeah, a lot of fans out there really, really have kept this series alive, like in spirit, like the whole ambience of it, because it's kind of timeless. The detective acts like he's a detective from like the noir books. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, is one of them is a 4K restoration?
If that's what it says, yeah. I mean, I honestly didn't know about the 4K part.
It seems like it's too early to be putting any movies in 4K right now.
I don't know anybody that has a 4K TV.
Right,
And even when I go to like, you know, Best Buy places or, you know, other, you know, stores like that, I only see like one 4K TV for sale, and it's usually like just a demonstration. And
they're like thousands of dollars. And from what I've read right now, what they do for 4K takes 2 HDMI cables. And I don't know. I mean, it just seems like it's just way too early for consumers to be doing anything with 4K. Maybe movie theaters, that would make sense. I've heard that 4K movies come in like a little hard drive or something. That I don't know. I mean, they're not ready for consumer. I mean, I'm all for it, I guess. When it's
no. I mean, they come in those little hard drives, DCPs, digital cinema packages, because. It's also a way to prevent piracy, because all the hardware to interface with these hardwares is proprietary. Yeah. So the theaters have to buy these things.
But you know, that never seems to stop people. I mean, it amazed me that people were pirating like Nintendo games. You know, back when they were in cartridges. So Steve Dillon says maybe a campaign to make Part 2. He's talking about Nightbreed Part 2. For Steve Dillon, I have to say, I don't like campaigning to make Clive Barker do something that maybe he doesn't want to do.
He'll do it when he does it. I mean, I've given up on trying to ask Clive, can you do this? Clive, can you do that?
Yeah.
Or hoping in my heart that, well, I hope maybe, you know, the next book is going to be the Scarlet Gospels. And it's like, nope, here's Abarat, Mr. Begone, or Abarat 3.
Clive Barker fans... We're on a ride and we're not in control of the ride, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a little boat in the ocean and you can't fight the waves and say, oh, I'm going this way, I don't care, you know.
Right. Or, that there's other islands out there. You can see them, you know, sometimes they even puff like a volcano and, you know, fire to the night. Yeah. But it's like, you know, it's coming, you know.
Yeah. Just enjoy the ride.
Enjoy the ride. I mean, if you try to go there on a log, you're going to get lost.
Yeah. Right. I mean, while I was waiting for Cabal 2 to come out,
you would have had Imagica.
Yeah, and The Thief of Always, right? I mean, The Thief of Always and Imagica came out, and at first it was like, this isn't Cabal 2, or you know, this isn't the second book of the art.
Right.
But they're great.
And you know, I never thought about that way, because when I was reading Clive Barker's books, I never expected them to have sequels. The first
Yeah.
one like that was The Great and Secret Show.
Well, I was reading interviews with him, and he had talked about, and that's the same thing now. We read interviews about where he's talking about stuff he wants to do or things he's working on, and then we get our hopes up and expect these things to happen right away.
Yeah. I think I would have been happy if The Great and Secret Show had been just one book. But
Sure.
then Everville came out, and I was like, oh, okay, this is fun, too. Yeah, he's developing more of this, trio of characters.
But it does say, that it's the first book of the art on it.
Sure. So you know that he would try to see where it could go.
Yeah.
But, the second one was also equally fun, although not as metaphysical as the first one. I don't know. He's mentioned stuff about the third one. He's mentioned directions where he's taking the story to.
Yeah. So anyway, a campaign to make Nightbreed Part 2. I think Nightbreed Part 2 is the TV show and the comic books.
Yeah, because that's here. That's a reality. I mean, number 2 of Nightbreed, the comic book, came out today. So.
Oh, probably not here in Fairbanks. So, but I think that the strength of the sale of the Cabal cut might help a little tiny bit. But really, the strength of this TV show, right? Any Nightbreed movie is going to be based on this television show now, I think. So first, the television show has to happen. Second, the television show has to be good. And third, it has to be financially successful.
Yeah.
And then they'll make another Nightbreed movie, and it won't be related to the original movie. It'll probably be related to the television show.
Yeah, I don't want any remakes or reboots or anything like that.
No.
I just want more new stuff,
Yeah.
I don't need to see the same characters coming back all the time either. It's something that Hellraiser is, taught me, is that no, it's terrible when you see the same characters just return just because it's cool.
Yeah, just because you like them.
Yeah.
That's not good enough reason. Mark Deniker said, if only it was we got all the negatives. He's talking about the news that Scream Factory is going to release. If only it was that we got all the negatives to work with, so it looks better than expected, but I'll take a release date. So yeah, I mean, let's wait and see what the news is.
Yeah, I got a few ideas that I would like it to be.
Yeah.
But I know it's probably not going to be that.
Yeah. So next week is July. So when does San Diego Comic-Con start?
All right, let me Google that up for you really quick.
Yeah, because maybe they're talking about next week at the Comic-Con. Maybe they're the same announcement. Are you going to go to that? It's like right in your backyard.
It depends on the motivation.
Well, you could go to that announcement, right?
It's from July 24 to 27th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I guess I can. Maybe. Let's see. We got some traveling to do. I would love to go there, especially, I've never been to a big Comic-Con. The only Comic-Con I've been was like one of those, you can't even call it a Comic-Con. It was a comic book convention in Montreal. And it was like on the second floor of a building and like a loft. And, Steve Scroce was there. He drew Ecto Kid. His book was coming out.
Yeah.
And my ticket won the raffle, and I won like a number 1 Sabretooth signed by Mark Texiera.
Cool.
So I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah.
That was like the single draw they did, the whole, comic book convention.
Well, SDCC is huge.
That was the first time I ever won anything.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it would be awesome if you could, be there for the Nightbreed announcement. But at the same time, it would be tough to get in and move around at that Comic-Con.
I hear it's pretty boring sometimes because all you do is like stay in queue for everything.
Yeah.
So it can get pretty crowded in there.
I could see that.
Yeah.
You could get a press pass for the Clive Barker podcast.
I don't know how that works.
I know that people with blogs do it. I follow Sega fan blogs all the time, and they're always they're going to the WWDC and stuff like that, and
oh, cool.
E3 and stuff. Not WWDC, but they're going to like E3 and stuff like that. So they're getting in with press credentials somehow. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I guess that we've kind of come to the end of our list of stuff, of feedback and things. As far as Occupy Midian, I don't know. I mean, have you thought of anything that you'd want to do with it after the movie comes out?
Frankly, I would just like give it a new cover.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you could change the group names on Facebook.
You can change like pages or business pages. Because I just did that on one of mine, but...
Yeah. But I would just like it to remain as a Nightbreed, community. You could call it the Tribes of the Moon or something.
Yeah.
And then make a banner with, like, some of the comic book covers and...
Yeah. I'd almost want to keep Occupy Midian, if we're keeping it at all, to keep Occupy Midian just because, it's historical.
It's the name that appears in the articles in Fangoria,
exactly.
Drop, and Bloody Disgusting. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may have a point there. I mean, yeah, as long as we can give it like a subtitle or something like.
Yeah, the subtitle would be maybe for fans of Nightbreed and Clive Barker's other work.
And who knows, if this takes place after our 100th episode, we can even, that's in 2015, but it would be nice to have Clive Barker say, hey, welcome to Occupy Midian.
So this is 74, so 25 more episodes, so that's 50 more weeks from now. I mean, every once in a while we squeeze interviews in or something. Like, when we were doing the screenings, we would make an episode that'd be Occupy Midian on location, and we would squeeze stuff in between, and we did a lot more episodes than one every other week.
Sure. But that didn't involve nearly as much interaction between the two of us as...
Yeah. Well, we don't have that now, so
right.
Every once in a while we might squeeze an interview in between, but mostly we've been sticking to the every other week. So that's 50 weeks from now.
It's a good rhythm, I think.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, how can you talk about a book every week? It's not possible.
No, of course not, unless
you don't do anything else. Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't. There's no way I could find the time. I mean, I work from 8 o'clock in the morning until 6 at night, and then go pick up Joey and I'm making him dinner until like 8 or so, and then he goes to bed by 8:30, and then from 8:30 p.m. on, that's my free time.
Yeah.
If I'm not trying to like do the dishes or other stuff that I didn't have time to do.
Or ride the moose to take the garbage out.
That's right. Yeah. Actually, that reminds me. I just saw an infographic because I had two people ask me if I was going to be okay, because of that tsunami warning.
Uh-huh.
So there was an infographic that shows how big Alaska is and where the tsunami is going to hit on the Aleutian Island chains.
Oh.
Would be like the distance between California and like North Dakota.
Yeah, you're pretty safe.
Yeah. I said if there was a danger of me getting hit by the tsunami, then the entire world is in trouble.
I think you're pretty safe because I don't think any kaijus are going to go your way. It would still take them a while to walk from California to South Dakota.
Yeah. That would be
Gojira.
Yeah, we're safe. Yeah, in Japanese movies, I don't know, you probably watch them more dubbed than in Japanese. The Godzilla movies.
But I usually, if I can find them, I go for the Japanese spoken with English subtitles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, so in the English subtitle versions, the people usually go, "It's Godzilla!"
Yeah.
But in the Japanese versions, they go, "Ah, Gojira."
Yeah, you got to make the drama, That's why they added Perry Mason to the first one.
Yeah, right.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is terrible.
Yeah. He just gets squeezed in there.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right. Well, I guess we're all done with this one. We managed to have an hour and a half without having a main topic.
Yeah. Well, it's easy especially when we have the revelatory interview to talk about. I mean,
yeah, that was big. We probably only would have had like 45 minutes if it weren't for that.
This was our episode. We turned out to do well without having a topic. So, yeah, it was pretty cool, pretty interesting. A lot of stuff, and go check out the revelatory interview at clivebarker.info. Yeah, it's been a couple of years since he's done one of those, so they used to be every couple of months or every 3 or 4 months, but now it's been a long time.
Bandwidth for this episode was provided by Ryan Danhauser at Remax Associates of Fairbanks. If you know somebody that's looking to buy or sell a house or move to Fairbanks or move out of Fairbanks, give Ryan a call or go to my website, www.ryandanhauser.com. You can reach us on the web at www.clivebarkercast.com. Leave us a review on iTunes. We're on Podomatic, Xbox Music Store, TuneIn Radio, Stitcher, Double Twist, BlackBerry, and Pocket Cast. Like our page on Facebook and join the Occupy Midian group. On Twitter, we're at BarkerCast and at Occupy Midian. The forum is www.clivebarkerfans.com/forum. Opening theme by Colin Lakativa.